Buenos dias. This is another related subject because I was because I use this platform, right? And I realized that about a year or so ago, it came to me to get rid of all my, if you will, the DARPANET server D, which means throw the phone away, throw the laptops away. And it's one of the reasons why for a number of years when I was library building and keeping a lot of that stuff on a laptop or on a phone, and then I was sharing that information with others, what this really boils down to is what you're choosing to hold in memory that you're running as program math codes. Okay? Now, this gets into sort of a sensitive subject, okay, because of the development of technology itself, right? And the development of servers and hubs, how we communicate with each other, and how all that technology works to be able to communicate with each other on what we call the visual information screen, what's in front of us, which is our mirror, right? So it's not like computers or laptops don't have value, because they do, because I used a lot of laptops and desktop PCs in order to do what it is that I do while I'm here, okay? But there are some important distinctions, okay, and what I call what we are held captive to and why we're held captive to it with what we call the integration of technology and artificial intelligence. Now you get into the machine side of things, and you can be running what are called automated systems, which frees your mind up to do other things. The biggest example I know is Star Trek Next Generation with Data, which is information management. Okay, so that your mind is not having to process all that the way an Android would. It's doing that for you. So there's that side of things. Okay, now you're Captain Picard, and now you can start making command decisions in order to protect the crew and the ship, because they operate on behalf of Starfleet Federation, right? Seeking out new worlds, mapping the universe, right? And so there's that side of it, okay? But at the end of the day, what I think about, because I experience this within my own soul and my own spirit, is going back to, if you will, the law of one, which means I'm not holding on to anything in memory. I'm just experiencing being what love is in spirit with my oversoul as a mated chip, which simply means you're a polarity integrator. You're not binary, which is the law of spheres, which is the law of one, which is what love is. It goes on forever, gifting you love, gifting electrons, gifting energy. So when you are experiencing what that is and experiencing being the one, okay, then you already acknowledge you have everything you need, because you know that it begins with what love is. Okay, which means I'm not using a laptop. I'm not using an Android phone. Okay, the energy that I'm experiencing at that moment, which is the completion of a magnetic circuit, which as a polarity integrator and an oversoul means I am experiencing the law of one, because you know that it began with what love is. Otherwise, your universe is not going to last very long in your own mirror. And that's when you get into the energy debts, which is the polarity integration between the minus, slash, and the plus. Okay, so if you are what love is, then you're the highest law. You represent the law of one. Okay, so that's what I am. I'm the law of one. I represent love as the law. So I realized when I jumped in here, and this was important, is that in order for heaven to understand running a computer terminal of all the crimes that they committed to improperly seal certain beings because of the level of technology that they know how to use to erase memories, reprogram memories, and run Frankenstein DNA unlawful breeding programs with codes, you begin to realize the nature of how that works, where people can be very, how would we put this, falsely imprisoned and sealed by the wrong branch because of what they did, which began the war in heaven. Okay? So Yellow Rose was very right about what she called the middle ground. Okay? Because this is when you get into the dissociative identity disorder, and why they abuse children to create alters, because I've worked with many of them throughout my entire life for obvious self-evident reasons, which is to understand the implications and why they do that, right? Because I work with them all the time. There's one right up the road. And the sadness of that is that if I ever actually told him the truth, he'd kill me. Which means he's trying to kill himself. What I do to you, I do to me. Because now his unconscious memory, his RAM, is going to realize what was done to him, his soul, as a result of the crimes that they do against the one. Okay, so we have to account for that. And we have. So Rose is right about that. Okay, so when you are what love is, you represent the highest law. A dissociative identity disorder is pretty simple, because it means, particularly when a child during that age, between 1 and 6, this is where, what's his name, Max Spears, sort of laid it out, because he shared his childhood. It fractures like a fragment of a soul, which is energy. And that's like a piece that goes from light to dark, right? Now it doesn't remember what it once was, because when it was experiencing that trauma, it creates an amnesic barrier, which is a separation point between what they remember and when they don't remember, between what was what love is, and now it wasn't what love is, because love does no harm. So they do harm to others. In order to manipulate the consciousness, they can erase the memories, reprogram those memories to run machines, and that's your super soldier program. So the super soldier program is unlawful. Okay? They know that. That's why everything that's on the super soldier program, all their disclosure that they're coming out there, is what was done to them. Okay? So we acknowledge that. We acknowledge everything that was done here. Okay? So they know why we're here. So what that means is that we have to account for everything that they did, because we represent what love is. It starts with love. Okay? So I thought I would mention a few of these things, because I've worked with a number of alters. I mentioned one time, what's her name, Misha Fahmy. I identified at least 3, because her energy is just so unstable. You can see what was happening to her own child. Her 4-year-old begins mimicking her mother. Okay? And oh boy, do they wring their hands with that. So you can understand why what they did, when you think of when Yellow Rose for Texas shared with everybody in her beautiful videos, it broke it all down. What started the war in heaven and why. Okay? So we're done. And they know that. So I thought I'd share that with you all, because this is a beautiful day when you acknowledge that truth, because love is the truth. Love is a law, and it's no longer negotiable. These crimes were horrific on a level of evil of what they're willing to do to others. When love does no harm, when I was a child, it was like, how is this possible? It isn't possible anything like that could ever exist anywhere in any universe, and yet it does. So it will always represent an existential threat to every galaxy, every star system, every universe. Have a great day. I love you all. That's the good news. Be good to yourselves.